Well, hello again and welcome to another little tutorial. My name is Trudy and I'm here from HotPatterns, and I'm going to do a tutorial for you today that's kind of broken down into a few little pieces. It's really a basic t-shirt tutorial, which I know doesn't sound particularly interesting if you know how to do a t-shirt, but there's a couple of things I wanted to show you. One very important thing is how to do a V-neck on a knit top, because that's something that sometimes eludes us. It's not always the easiest thing to work out, but once it's one of those things, once you see it, it's like, oh, obviously I can do that. And the other thing I want to show you is how I like to do a patch pocket to go on the t-shirt. And the t-shirt I'm making is actually one of our menswear patterns. It's the Mr. HP Nice and Easy tees. And the Nice and Easy tees are a very, very useful pattern to have in your arsenal for sewing for the man in your life, or even the men in your life, or if you're a guy, then of course sewing for yourself. So I'm going to do these tutorials for you, but first we're going to quickly discuss why we've done a men's t-shirt pattern. Alright, so the first thing to say is that yes, we've done a very, very simple and very basic men's t-shirt pattern, and there's a reason for that. I mean, you'd look at it and think, what's the point? It's just a bog standard t-shirt pattern, and it is, but I'll tell you the point. Recently we bought some t-shirts for Jeremy. And we bought them because we were both busy, we were in a rush, didn't have time to make some, just grab some t-shirts, buy them. And they weren't inexpensive, but they also, you know, they weren't like cheap. And they lasted, I think, about 3 launderings before they started to fall apart. The neckbands started falling off, and the whole thing distorted, and it shrank. I'm going to say about 4 inches in the length and about 2 inches in circumference. I know they did because we inadvertently left one unworn and unwashed. We compared them. It was ridiculous. And so we sat down and we were kind of grumping about this and realising that the fabric that was used wasn't such a great quality, and it hadn't been pre-washed, and it hadn't been cut properly on grain, and it was just really a disaster. And like I say, these weren't like cheapy t-shirts, you know, they're like $25, $30 a pop. Worth having them done nicely for that amount of money, I would have thought. So we said, well, you know, finally we're just going to have to do a men's t-shirting pattern, because I know even buying a reasonably inexpensive t-shirting, you will get a much better product than pretty much anything you're going to be able to buy. And it seems silly not to. It's such a good basic wardrobe piece. Everyone wears t-shirts, even if it's just, you know, under things as an underlayer, or at the weekends, or a sleeping in, or whatever. Everyone wears them, so you may as well have something that'll last you more than 5 minutes. So that's why we've done our t-shirt pattern, and you'll see how it comes together very, very easily. And so because of that, it's one of those things you should definitely do, and you should definitely make lots of them. Okay, so t-shirt tutorial time, here we go. As always, we have laid out our pieces. You can see there's hardly any pieces for this. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. So we've got our V-neck front. Construction method is the same for the V-neck as for the crew neck, apart from one little crucial part of the V-neck, which I'll show you later. Back, shoulder seams here, and this is the sleeve seam. We're doing short sleeves on this one just because we can, and that's that. And this is our neckband here, and again, when I'm doing the V-neck, I'll show you how to put it together and put it on. So this is the easiest thing in the world to do, but you need to follow this method of construction. You need to do your shoulder seams first, then your neckline, sleeves on, side seams, hems. That's how you need to do it, because you can try and do it other ways. You could make the sleeve up into a tube and try and insert. Why would you do that to yourself? Make your life easier. This is an easy thing to do. And speaking of easy, I know that some people like to cut multiples of basic garments like this. Always a good idea to have a few just cut out and ready to go if you're, you know, serging something or overlocking something in the same colours. Why not? However, I would recommend the following. I would say do not lay this up and cut out layers, like 2 or 3 t-shirts in one hit. Cut them individually, and I'll tell you why. This is such a quick and easy garment to make. You're really not going to save that much time. There's only sort of the body pieces and the sleeves and the neckband. And what often happens when you're laying up knits, and one of the reasons that ready-to-wear t-shirts can be a bit hit and miss, is because when you lay them up in layers to cut lots at once, often they go off grain, like that. And you may luck out and get something that was right at the bottom of the pile. They started laying things out, it was all nice and straight, or you might not. Which is one of the reasons why when you buy striped t-shirts ready to wear, you'll often see that the more expensive ones, the stripes will line up at the sides, and the more, shall we say, budget-friendly ones, the stripes are all over the place. Yeah, so I wouldn't cut layers of these, I would cut them individually, but like I said, they're so easy, they're easy to do. So I'm going to start by sealing up my shoulder seams and preparing my neckband, and I'm going to show you that in a different colour just so you see how it looks. And we're going to have a look at that now, and then I will show you how you basically just complete a t-shirt. Okay, so I'm going to show you the V-neck part of this, and I'm going to show you this actually not in the fabric that we're using, that nice dark green interlock. I'm going to show you it in yellow because I've actually cut the neckband in the dark green, so you can really see the difference, you can get the contrast. I've also done this, if I made this up it would be a crop top, and I think we can all agree that Jeremy, a crop top, it's not going to work for anybody. So this is really just a throwaway to show you how to do it. So I've lined my shoulder seams up. There's your centre back neck, there's your front neck, there's your shoulder seams, armholes here, armholes here. Very, very simple. So of course, as with a normal t-shirt construction, before you do the neckline, you really need to do the shoulder seams. Now, a couple of things to mention about this. The first thing is that I have seen a few t-shirt instructions where they have you join one shoulder, do the neckband and then join it through here. You can do that if you want, but to be honest with you, I've never found it to give a particularly kind of slick finish, a particularly good finish. It's really a personal thing. I prefer to have the seam on the neckband at the centre back, because then I know where it is and I know what to do. And by the way, you can hear our dog skittering around on the floor just because he likes t-shirts too. Okay, so the other thing to mention to you is the actual sewing of the shoulder seam. Now, this being an interlock, it is quite stretchy. That's the whole point. It's kind of stretchy. And you don't really need the stretch for the fit so much as the kind of comfort and ease and drape and wearability. So you want to kind of retain at least some of that stretch. So you've got a number of options. One is that you could use an overlocker or a serger like this. This is a 4-thread, and the 4-thread will sew a seam and clean off the edge of the seam in one pass, which is useful. But because I know that my lovely husband, like myself, is very hard on clothes, I always do an extra little line of stitching, and I do a line of zigzag stitching on a normal machine, sort of on top of it, just so I get, it's like a belt and braces approach. So yeah, you can do it just with your overlocker or serger, you can do it just with a zigzag or stretch stitch on your normal machine, or you can combine the two. The other thing you can do is either tape or add some not too stretchy elastic across here, like clear elastic, or some tape to stop it kind of really distorting out. It's really up to you, and this is one of those things that when you're choosing your fabric, you've got to bear it in mind. Something that's worth mentioning to you, and I know I've said it before on tutorials, but it's really worth, when it comes to knit, this is really key. When companies decide to do a t-shirt, they will do 20 or 30 iterations in the sample room to get it perfect, to make sure that everything stretches where it should and it doesn't stretch too much and it fits together beautifully, because they're going to make thousands of these in one fabric. You're unlikely to do that. You're going to be making perhaps one in a cotton polyester interlock, one in a rayon poly lycra interlock. I mean, there's all different sorts of fabrics of different kinds of stretch, and so they're all going to behave differently. So you need to bear in mind, what you want to use here. Basically, the more stretch there is, the more stretch you want to keep in it. Otherwise, it'll just kind of clump up and look awful. So, all right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to join my seams here, and I'm going to join this neckband into a loop. That's how we always do our neckbands, and press it open. Now, your neckband, we normally cut on our pattern pieces, we will cut a knit neckband like this, approximately 2 inches or 5 centimetres shorter than the finished neckline measurement. That's kind of our standard. I suspect I'll be taking some of that off this, but that's okay. But again, you've got to test and adjust for your knit. So if it's very, very stretchy, you're likely to be taking some off it. It's all okay, but the first time you do it, you're going to have to kind of pin it and go a little bit slowly. So join the shoulder seams, join this, and we'll get ready to do the V-neck. So I've just quickly seamed the front to the back along the shoulder seams, obviously. And what I did with this one, and I'll probably do on the main real deal one I'm going to be making for you, is I actually did 3 passes of zigzag stitch on this machine before I use my overlocker, because I want the seam to be really, really sturdy, but you can see it still stretches, it still has that give. And what you do when you're doing seams on knits where you're going to be overlocking the edges together or zigzagging the seams so it's kind of together, you don't press the seams open, you kind of can't. You have to press them towards the back. So these are pressed towards the back as the dog goes pitter-pattering through. They're still pressed to the back. So now I've got my V-neck out here and I've got my neckband. You can see it's a loop. And I've actually shortened this just to take care of the fabric because of the fabric being quite stretchy. I've taken probably 2 inches off it in total. And like I say, this is one of those things you have to test and adjust for each different knit that you use. I've pressed open the seam and you fold it in half so you get like a double thickness loop. And I'm really hoping the dog doesn't tread underneath the foot pedals, otherwise they're just going to start working really quickly. Okay, so we're not going to poltergeist just a dog. So you've got your neckband like this, and your centre back seam, or your seam on this, is going to join up to the centre back on here. So you want to pin that to your centre back, and that's kind of just a bog standard thing to do. And then you'll find I've put a notch in my centre front. You want to pin that down to your centre front. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to do a classic V-neck application. You do the same method if you're putting a V-neck facing on a woven garment as well, which is where you will start. Well, this is a V-neck. Is it a V? No, it's not around it, but I'll show you anyway. You start like this. You'll start a couple of inches up from the V. You'll sew down, up and round to the centre back, and then you'll reverse it 2 inches up, down to the point of the V, up and round to the back. That's the best way to get a nice sharp point, and you make sure when you go into the V, you go right into the V, and you sew on top of that all the time. If you want to, you can mark it with a little dot or a little pin, whatever you want to do. As you go around on this one, of course, you're going to be very gently stretching your neckband, so it kind of goes like that. And then I'll show you it when I put it on. I'm going to show you as well the difference between it unpressed and then pressed. It's a huge, huge difference. So before I do this, I'm actually going to untwist it. It's got twisted, and we don't want that at all. Okay, there we go. So don't forget, we're going to go from here down to the apex of the point, all the way around to the centre back, and then reverse it down to here, all the way around the back. Easiest way to do a neckline. And then before to complete it, I have to show you the centre front bit to give you the nice sharp V. Okay, so I'm quickly showing you this before I go away and press it, because pressing is your friend on this one. So I've got the neckband on, and as you can see, it's looking very 70s retro, kind of contrasty neckband, pretty good. But it's kind of a soggy, kind of dip down oval at the moment. It is not a proper V-neck. However, I need to explain 2 things to you. One is the stitch I used on this. You'll see it's still stretchy like that, which is as it should be. It needs to go over somebody's head. So what I did was I actually put the neckband on using a straight stitch with this machine. But when I did it, I kind of stretched out both the neckband and the t-shirt a little bit to get me a bit more kind of room. And then I know when I steam it, it's going to kind of boing back in again. And then I finished the edges here with the overlocker. You can see that. So we've still got stretch and recovery, and when I steam it, it's going to be much better. So I'm going to press it, steam it all out, and then I'm going to show you the final thing on how to do it, which is putting that little seam in there to make it a V-neck. Okay, so now we reach the kind of penultimate part of our V-neck, and I will be getting Jeremy to come in and have a really close look at this for you in a moment. But I just wanted to explain to you, I've put the neckband on and I steamed it out and kind of pressed it on the outside, so it looks much nicer than it did before, of course. So you've still got this kind of rounded V effect. This is not what we want. We want a sharp, a nice pointed V. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to get Jeremy now to zoom in so you can really see how it looks. Okay, see what I mean? Kind of rounded V, not so gorgeous. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to obviously work on the inside. When I say obviously, it's not that obvious. There is our centre front. You can see it goes into a little point there, and there's also, you probably can't see this, but it's really obvious when you're up close, there's little notches here. So that's what you're going to align it with, because that's your centre. So you'll need a few pins, and this is one of those things as well that it depends on the stretch of your fabric on how much you're going to do. What you're going to do is fold it in half along the centre front, where the little notch is here, and you're going to pin out at an angle. I'm going to pin it and then show you it roughly. And it needs to start and stop exactly at the stitch line here. You don't want any kind of darts or nastiness like that. That'll look ridiculous. So let me just pin this and show you. Okay, this is rough pinning. Can you see that, Jeremy?
Well, what I'm going to do is come right into it.
Okay, do it. I'm going to flip it out as well, so you can the right side. So you've pinned off, and you can base this as well the first few times you do this, just so you're sure you're doing it right. And you will get kind of that effect, okay? A nice sharp V. Obviously it's a bit wacky at the moment because it's just pinned. So what you have to do is you have to put your needle in at the very apex here along the stitch line. Don't do it above, don't do it below, actually at the stitch line, and sew it out here. And you're going to take quite an acute angle, quite a vicious kind of diagonal angle there, and that's going to give you a nice sharp V. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you how it looks. Okay, so now I've done my little seam here and I've pressed it out. Now, I'm going to pull it up and show you at the moment, and you'll notice that it kind of goes a little bit curvy like this. This is normal when you've sewn it. It kind of distorts a little when you've sewn it. A quick run through the laundry and certainly a hot dryer will sort that out for you. It kind of pings back into shape. But that is what you get. You get yourself a nice V with a sharp V here and a V there. It's really easy to do, and it's the kind of thing that once you've done a couple of them, the first few may be a disaster, that's all okay. Use some scrap fabric and play for a little while. Once you've done a couple of them though, you will find they're dead easy to do, and you'll just kind of get into the groove a bit else, just do a V-neck. So that's how you do your V. Obviously if you're going to do a crew neck, it's just round, not hard. And the other little bit I'm going to show you in a moment is how to do the pocket. Okay, it is pocket time now, and the breast pocket on this t-shirt is entirely optional. And really, it's just a simple patch pocket. And I know I kind of showed this one, I think it was the kimono jacket, could be wrong, but I'm going to show you it again, just because this is a slightly different shape. When it's got the point goes to the bottom, like that. Now, what you would normally do, and we're going to do this with this one, is you fold, this is the right side, you fold your top edge back, right sides to right sides, and you're going to do a little seam down here, and you're going to do the same thing, excuse me snivelling, kind of along here. You're going to sew down there like that, so when you flip it out it has no choice but to behave itself. So down here and down those angles there. I'm going to do it, I'm going to flip it out and show you how it looks, but it's the easiest thing in the world. The thing you need to remember is that this is the first bit that you do. I've overlocked these edges. You don't have to because knits don't fray, but I just did because I did. That's all there is to it. And just a straight stitch, you don't need stretch on this. Okay, so I've done my stitching on my pocket, and I just wanted to quickly show you what I've done because I actually changed my mind a tiny bit about what I was going to do. I did do the top edge, as I said, right sides to right sides, and I've just sewn it down like this. Then the bottom edges I folded up, bottom angled edges, I folded up that way and sewed down here. And at the point, I took a little corner off, a little 45-degree angle corner, basically from the fold point, just so it's a proper 45-degree angle. What can I tell you? I know that when I go now and I clip off all these corners and I press it and turn it out, the pocket will have no choice but to basically behave itself and go into the shape I want, and then I'll just press it flat. That's how you make an angled patch pocket. So now here is my pocket almost ready to go on. All I've got to do is stitch the top edge across here. However, you can see it's quite neat. You've got clean edges along here. However, there is something I should explain to you, which is sometimes your knits will distort. They just do. It's what they do. And so you'll get like a bend in here and a bend in there. That's all okay. As long as your top edge is straight, and this one is, it'll be fine. What you'll find happens is when you pin it to the front of your t-shirt, as long as you follow the markings or the suggested markings for the pocket position, and you'll pin it so you get this nice and straight like that. Once you've sewn it through like that and you've given it a press or you've run it through the washing machine, it's kind of going to stay where you put it, so you haven't got to worry about that. Like I say, the only thing to worry about really is your top edge kind of rules. So yeah, an inch deep stitch line across the top, and that will do it. We probably won't put this on our t-shirt. I know just Jeremy doesn't really like pockets on his t-shirt, so we won't. But if you do like a pocket, that's how you do it. And the other final thing to say about pockets is this: on men's t-shirts, it's extremely rare to have a pair of pockets. It makes them look like boobs, just saying. So you always have one breast pocket kind of here on the left chest like that. That's the pocket. Okay, so now you've gone off and watched my little tutorial on a V-neck, you can see that I'm at the same stage here. I've done the V-neck, and it has to be said that this V-neck's come out a lot nicer than what I showed you in the tutorial, but that's okay. You can see we've got a nice sharp point there. So V-neck is done, obviously shoulder seams first. Don't forget your shoulder seam allowances are going to be pressed backwards because I'm overlocking the seam edges so they're together, you can't press them open. Same principle applies when we're going to apply the sleeves. This is one pass like this, and you're going to press the seam allowances down towards what would be the wrist of the garment. So we're going to do that, those are in like that, And then it's really a matter of the side seams. So I'll put these in, I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll do the side seams and finish it. So I'm just laying this out now, just before I complete it, to show you just how quick and easy a standard t-shirt is. Because you've really got shoulder seams, neckline, sleeve seams, and then down the arms and the side seams. And then obviously you have to hem it or finish the cut edges. But that's it, it's really, really that simple. I would say soup to nuts, this kind of thing, once you cut it, maybe 45 minutes to make all the way through, pressing it, making sure it's all lovely. Really not a very long project to do at all, and very much worthwhile doing. So I'm now going to do the side seams, and for this one I'm going to actually do them where I'm going to overlock the edges to keep the edges clean, and I'm going to sew them with a seam that I can press flat. Just because I have a feeling if I'm making this for Jeremy, and I am, he's recently lost some weight, so while this should fit him, I feel like I'm going to be running it at the sides, because that's just how it is. But you can do it either that, where you seam it together and press the seams open, or you can overlock them together. It's really your choice. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish the hems. I'm going to give you a final bit of handy hint and tip business about how to finish the hems. Okay, so that is it. Our t-shirt is done. Side seams, hems. This is what it looks like. Rather fabulous. I think you have to concede. Now, the only other thing I have to tell you about this is, depending on the knit you use, your hems may end up curling back. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. If it does, you need to have a little trick up your sleeve to do a nice hem without it curling back. You can see a proper kind of step-by-step tutorial for this particular hem if you go over to our Mini G t-shirt recon video, but I'll briefly explain it to you. What you would do is you'd use the pattern piece from your neckband, but you want to cut it double thickness. Okay, and you want to cut it the same length as your hem, minus say a couple of inches, and then trim off one thickness of the hemband and use it as a doubled hemband down there. Use that extra piece, so it's almost like a rib trim. And you would use that if your fabric's got a little bit more lycra in it, because they tend to curl back on you a little bit, and you don't really want that. So it's a good option to know, but once you've seen that tutorial as well, you'll know how to do it, and you can decide when it happens or not. So that's it. That's our lovely Mr. HP nice and easy tee. This is the V-neck short sleeve version. Of course, there is a crew neck long sleeve version with or without pocket. You can mix them all up, make the perfect men's tee for you or the man in your life.